Synopsis. We start with the guys in utter pain. Oh, this is going to be a good episode. They tell Camille that this all happened because they got their picture in Pop Tiger magazine, and they share their story. This all started with them playing hockey in their apartment. Hey, Mr. Bitters said no soccer, he never said anything about hockey. But sadly, their game is cut short by Kelly, who takes them to the studio for the photo. They discuss the significance of Pop Tiger magazine, and... hold on. Oh, it's actually not Scott. Might I say, you're making a really good first impression so far. The boys discuss the magazine further, and they break into a fight. Luckily, Kelly's learned how to consistently break them up, and lets them know that this poster will be on the walls of girls everywhere. And, you know, a nerdy kid from Oregon. The car is swarmed by adoring fans that are not there to see them. No, they're actually there to see the famous pop star who is on the cover of the magazine. Wanting a taste of that fame, they rush inside and find Katie and Mrs. Knight. Turns out they're here to see Dak Zevon, that pop star from earlier. And while Logan tries to mock her for it, she gets the last laugh as he's trampled by the fans from earlier. Katie's able to use her charm to get Dak's location out of Kelly, and then the boys are escorted to the photo room. They're introduced to an eccentric photographer who origins seem unknown, kind of like a certain director.
You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
The photographer, who I will call Mr. Wiseau, tries to get them to pose sexy and with stuffy puppies, which would definitely be a look. But luckily, Gustavo seems to have gotten rid of whatever imposter was impersonating last episode, because he's actually the reasonable one in this situation. The boys begin to fight again, but due to some beautiful angling, they bust up laughing. Perfect for the picture. They try to take it, but Gustavo and Kelly are arrested for something Gustavo would totally do, leading to Griffin taking over the photo, going for more of an alternative look. Meanwhile, Katie is trying to see Dak, but not even the puppy dog look works on the guards. They leave, but I think we know this family well enough at this point to know that they're not done. Gustavo and Kelly discuss how to get out of community service, since Gustavo knows an eccentric billionaire put in charge of the look of a down-to-earth pop group probably wouldn't work. The boys discuss amongst themselves on how to get out of this, but Kendall's a little too optimistic, hoping that Gustavo will just barge in through the door and fix everything in time. But as that didn't happen, as a last-ditch effort, Kendall stops the photographer, says they need something else, something like
A snowmobile!
They're allowed a 5-minute break, which is just enough time for them to get an actual plan together. They get everything together, but their time is cut short, as Griffin somehow found a snowmobile. Back with Gustavo, Back with Katie and her mom, Let's check in with everyone's having a bad time right now. Well, this actually works in the boys' favor, as they get extra time to take their photo. They quickly change, get in the position, but the camera dies. And before they get a chance to replace the battery, Griffin walks in to get them for his photo. Before we continue though, let's check back in with Katie. And they're starting a revolution, apparently. They charge the security guards, and are ready to take Zach as well, but before they can, Katie saves him through an air vent. Meanwhile, the boys try to get one more chance to get out of this picture, so Kendall decides to use that poster from earlier, and throws it into a fan, causing it to land on Griffin's face. This gives them just enough time to get out, get changed, and finally get the picture. Gustavo and Kelly return just in time to be their photographers, and finally, that explains it. Wait, how'd they get beaten up then?
We're getting to that!
The photo is taken, and they send it off to the magazine. They all get ready to celebrate when Katie shows up with... The boys get mauled, and we flash back to the present. The boys finish their story and say how it was all worth it, just so that they'll be on the walls of girls everywhere. Although, Camille has to break some heartbreaking news to them. Thoughts? Wow, my new favorite episode of the series. And it wasn't even a Scott Fellows episode. Ron Holsey, I'm definitely going to keep an eye on you in the future, because you really understand these characters in a way that a lot of others don't. Gustavo isn't just a dick. He's a strict boss with anger issues, but he's not heartless. Each of the boys are able to use their own talents to solve the problem, even if Logan is a little short-staffed in this episode. The jokes are funny, and they don't take away from what makes the characters what they are. The writer includes callbacks to previous episodes, even episodes we technically haven't seen. More on that in the trivia section. But it definitely helps this show feel different from others when writers choose to focus on what came before and build off of that. More respect has been built between Gustavo and the boys in this episode, which is always nice to see. And it's really nice to see him finally stand his ground on just letting the boys be themselves. Something that feels like almost a continuation of Big Time Bad Boy. I don't know what else to say other than Diamond Record. Trivia. Alright, I mentioned this in the thoughts section, so here it is. Dak Zevon is a fun callback that I'm sure a lot of you never actually caught. But if you've been watching my series, you actually might know this. He's played by Kurt Hansen, the original actor before Kendall got his part in the show. I'm glad to see there was no hard feelings between actors, as they seem to work fine together in this episode. Also, a separate fact, the first scene where they play hockey, Kendall was only supposed to push James softly, but instead, James was bounced against the kitchen counter. And it's because of this that James actually has a scar on his left elbow. One of the cool things about your life is that every mark on your body has a story, and I'm glad this was a fun one.
While I did have to do some digging to find this trivia myself, I should credit my sources. I got most of this information from the Big Time Rush fan wiki, specifically the blog
Big Time Photoshoot.
If you want to fact check me, feel free to do so in the comments below, and if it's a big enough slip up on my part, I'll try and have your comment penned, assuming I haven't already done that to someone else. Oh, now that that's done, I really gotta say, I'm starting to get a little stressed out by this workload. Maybe I should take a little bit of time off, not too much, but just enough to give myself a little break.
When the window blew out, I fell, cut myself. As the blood spilled, I was helpless, nearly killed. Your actions, they did curse me, and yet your lies still hurt me. One heart for whole beings.